Like if I knew what we were going to face when I stood there with you and I made those vows, I might have been afraid.
Oh, okay. I was wondering what you were going to say. Like, are you backing out? Like- Hi, and welcome to the Onyx Life, where me and Rita, for this year, we are celebrating our 25th anniversary. And we're celebrating it all year.
Yes, 25 years, guys. 25 years that he's had to deal with me. I've had to deal with him. And today, we thought we're going to start, a new series within our series where we go through the vows. So this first one is for better or for worse.
Right. So we're going to go for better or for worse, through sickness and in health, for richer or for poor. So we're going to go through the entire vows and just kind of like give you guys an idea of how we were challenged by our vows. Did we just say it or did we mean it?
I know. Like when you say it in your wedding, you're thinking, oh, I know things happen to people, but you have no clue what's about to happen to you.
It is so true.
And like, what are you and your spouse about to face? It's really just like, wow.
Right.
Like if I knew what we were going to face when I stood there with you and I made those vows, I might have been afraid.
Oh, okay. I was wondering what you were going to say. Like, are you backing out?
When I say afraid, I might have been afraid that could we get through it?
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Each and every one of those.
That is true.
From the arguments to the sickness to the money problems, whatever. I didn't know. I probably would have been like, who can get through that?
I think that there is an element of marriage where it is a leap of faith.
Yeah.
It is a leap of faith. There's an element. I think that there needs to be preparation. I think people need to go to counseling, premarital counseling, so that they understand some of the things that they're going to face and they're prepared for it. But then there is an element where it's a leap of faith. Like you can't know everything that you're going to get into before it happens.
Right. And so even doing this first part of this, like for better or for worse, I was a little bit concerned because we tend to, if we go back and we start talking about old arguments, it tends to sometimes stir up things.
Yeah, we had to pray, y'all.
We had to pray.
We had to pray before this. Well, we pray before all of our things, but we had a special anointing service.
Yeah, we had to do another one. Just another one.
To Lord, guard my tongue.
Be right here.
Just be right here. Be in the heart.
Be right here. Yeah. So what we thought we'd do is we go through some of our arguments. I mean, first of all,
we literally could probably do the top 25, but I think we're pushing it. And we might just have a 26th.
Oh, I know.
If we did that. So,
because this is a thing, like we were naming off arguments and then we're like, maybe not this one, maybe that one. Because you know what? We're trying to get like a spectrum of things.
Right. Different things that we're arguing about.
Because everybody goes through arguments. I know that there are people like, we never argue. Wow, you're the outlier. Wonderful for you. That wasn't us. That wasn't us.
And I think when people say that they never argue, I think some people, what they're saying is that they have a difference of opinion, but they came to the relationship probably more mature so that they could talk out their differences of opinions better than probably we did.
Yeah.
I think we had to learn as we went on our way.
But it's funny. I used to always think, it's because we were so young. I was 19 when we got married. You were 23. But then I was on Twitter maybe about a year ago, and there was this actor. He's acted on some of my favorite shows, and he was talking about this argument. He's like fully in his 60s.
Okay.
Possibly early 70s. Maybe 60s. And he was talking about like this argument that he had with his wife, and he was like, argued for, a few hours. There were tears, there was slamming doors, and now we finally made up. And I was like, okay, and he's in his 60s. You know what? I don't feel so different. I don't feel so different.
But honestly, to be honest with you, all the arguments that we have gone through in this series called For Better or For Worse, and we're going to deal with the worst part. I just think that both of us just don't have that young people energy anymore. Like, how are you 60 and have that energy?
I know. I got to admit, and you guys,
I don't have the energy to argue.
we really don't have, like some of the arguments that you're about to hear, we just don't do it anymore. One of the reasons why we don't do it anymore is, at least on my end, why I don't do it anymore, is because I made a choice one day. I got real tired one day after arguing. And I was like, oh my goodness, what a waste of my energy. What a waste. You know what? Because what happens is we argue, we're loud and it's just bad. And then we get to the point where like, we calm down, and then it's like, you know,
the apologies.
I'm sorry. You know, I love you. And then we actually talk it through, and then we realize, you know what? You were right.
You're right.
You know, and then we get through it. So one day I said to myself, you know what I want to do? I just want to skip over the argument part and just get to, how do we just talk this out? I know, wow, big, bright idea. But no, literally, you can literally make that decision. And when I was young, I didn't know that. I felt like, you know, no, you have to argue. You have to make sure that this person sees your point, and you have to make sure that they know that you're right, they're wrong. And we could not skip over it. And when I made that decision, it was just like, it was a turning point on my end where it was like, you know what? Let's just, whatever, let's, you know, I'm not even going to go there. Just when you and I are calm enough, let's just talk it out.
What was one of the first arguments that you can remember?
Oh my goodness, this is a thing. He always tells me, "Oh, Rita, I don't have a memory like you," because if he's asking me that question, I could rattle it off. I could just rattle them off. I could just go right now. I could just talk about like a lot.
Rita can remember stuff. And that has become an argument.
That has been an argument
because Rita can remember stuff and I won't remember everything. Okay. So we will argue about the details and the minutiae of what we were arguing about.
So we are going to get into specific arguments, but we also need to we need to talk about concepts, concepts and arguments that happen.
Right.
For example, Mirthell and I will be arguing, right? And he'll say something, and then I'll say something after I let him speak for a while. Then I'll address something he said. Then he'll say, but I didn't say that. And well, if I said that, and I'm like, what do you mean if? You did. You just said it. What do you mean if? You said it like 5 minutes ago. Well, I don't remember saying that. And you know what? Just because I don't have a memory like you does not mean that I actually said it. And then it's spirals into a whole nother argument.
Right.
And so there's an argument within the argument. And it just gets ridiculous.
Right.
It gets so ridiculous.
And so for me, it's like, we will have this argument and I'll be like, I didn't say that. And she'll be like, yes, you did say that. And then I'll realize, oh, okay, sometimes what is happening, and I'm saying sometimes because I want to get into an argument about this. Sometimes what is happening is I think that she listens to what she hears the intent. Like she's thinking, okay, she is thinking that I am saying a particular thing.
No.
And I'm saying to myself, like, but I didn't say that. But maybe what's happening here is that whatever I said made her feel that way. And so the words formed to say that I said it. And so I'm just like, because I know I didn't say that.
Okay,
you know?
Yeah, I know. You know you didn't say it. Okay. No, if that ever happened, maybe it was like 1% of the time. But 99% of the time, I will say, okay, well, you just said this, and I'm going to say this back. And then I didn't say that. What? And it becomes impossible. Because now it's like, how are you going to get over the argument? So, yeah, it is a cycle.
It's hard to get over
so
it.
One of the ways...
it's frustrating also because as men, we kind of want to like get to the issue and solve it while I notice that you will want to talk about it and express how it made you feel, also what actually happened, and then, Well,
I also realized this helped me really, really get over things also. I used to think he was doing that on purpose to just frustrate me. I would just like, I would say, you're lying. I just do all sorts of stuff saying like, just because I couldn't believe he was saying I didn't say that, but he truly did not think he said it. Like, that's when I really understood. He really feels like he did not say that. And I really feel like I heard it. So who is right? So we came up with a way to figure out who is right. So we thought we were going to be brilliant and record our conversations.
Which is not going to work because the moment that you press record, like, you're talking different. See,
this is the thing.
You're acting different.
This was early on in our
this is very early
marriage. So this is pre like the cell phones that we have. This was in our relationship
because I remember one time we were on the campus, the university campus, and we were talking about recording it.
Yeah.
Outside, like taking.
Yeah, we were just gonna record it. Not even our phones, because we didn't have phones that recorded yet.
Did we? Or,
no.
Yeah,
we had literally. I bought a tape recorder.
Yeah, that's right.
I bought a tape recorder.
No, the tape recorder was for your lectures.
Yeah.
You went and got the tape recorder.
Yes, I got that for that.
Lectures.
Mm-hmm. And we were gonna use that, okay? And we were gonna be able. Okay, we were gonna do that.
Gonna solve this.
Yes, but like he said, now you're very careful with your words.
Right.
And now you're actually just working it out because now you're being cautious.
Right.
And now you're just caring. So there's no point. So it just goes right back to just like,
that was hilarious.
Yeah.
That was really hilarious. But what the first argument? What was that first one that you can remember?
Okay. I mean, Mirthell, that's not really like okay, the very, very first argument in our relationship or the first one I can remember?
Just the first one that you can remember that was really early in our relationship.
Okay, that one would be we had AOL. And because we were dating.
AOL.
I had, you didn't have it though. He had a computer, but he didn't have AOL. But I had an account with AOL. So we're dating. I said, oh, here's my sign in so that you could go online too. And back then, I guess, I can't remember exactly how it goes, but the point was that
there was a certain amount of time that you had for the AOL so that if you use up the time or something like that.
I just know that when I tried to go on there, I could not because someone else was on it. So I assumed it was you because I had given you the password. And so I'm like trying to get on it during the day. It's like, what is going on? What are you not going to class? Because I'm like, why is this thing constantly being used? Come to find out, the generous person that Mirthell is, did you give them the sign-in credentials or did you just sign it in?
They were at my house. They came over to my house and they were using. And
so Mirthell's friends were just using. But did they know my password?
No, they didn't know it.
You just signed on.
Remember how the table was at the back as soon as you walk in?
Yes.
And the computer was there.
So you were just staying signed in.
I signed in, and then they would, one particular friend would come over and use it.
Right. So he was using it, and I said, I gave you the password so that you could use it, not for your friends. Why are you letting them use it? And I distinctly remember you going, Rita, why are you so selfish? This is something where we need to let other people also use it. Why would it just be you and me? If I have friends, I can't let them use it? And to me, I was flabbergasted because it just was so obvious to me. Because like, I'm not dating your friends, I'm dating you.
Right.
And it's my account. But we got into this huge argument, and this was the first argument that we had.
Yeah, I think that was the first time that we realized that we had a different perspective, and your perspective it's not like my perspective was wrong and yours was right or mine was right.
No, I think you were wrong still. No, I think you were wrong still.
I think that if there was a wrong, then I would have been wrong because ultimately it was your password.
Right.
So
and you didn't ask me.
Right.
You didn't ask me.
I think I assumed because by that time, pretty early, we started doing and sharing things together. We're sharing a bank account. We're sharing all these things. So I was assuming that.
Yeah. So what if I allowed my friends go into our bank account and just use up our money?
Right. Well, I typed in the password.
Okay. Well, what if I just brought them with me to the ATM and I let them use our money?
Or you withdrew the money and gave it to your friends because they needed some money.
Right. And the money that you wanted to use was no longer there.
I understand that. But that showed the difference between me and you. I'm a very generous person, so you know that I would not have as much of a problem with that.
Okay, but if you actually wanted to use the money, Mirthell, your friend was not on there doing some like very like virtuous, altruistic, charitable work. He wasn't going on there. You know that him having the access was not so he could do some important work. He wasn't doing that.
I don't know.
So it wasn't about
like he's probably surfing and doing
exactly.
Things,
so when you're saying
probably
like
doing work, homework or whatever.
So when you're saying like, yeah, I wouldn't have mind giving the money because you would have been helping someone. You giving him the password was not helping him.
Okay.
It was just giving him access.
Well, definitely, it definitely proved that we had a different perspective in life, and I'm going to give you that one. We have talked about this for years. But I'm going to give you that one.
Years.
But what I will say is this. It definitely began to highlight the differences between the two of us. Because when we came into this relationship, I was a helper. I would take people and drive them different places to different places. And so I just like to help people. I would be like, oh, this person can't pay their rent.
One time he asked me for money. Rita, do you have any money? I was like, I have like $50. He's like, here, let me have it. And he didn't say let me have it.
But I told you the situation.
No, you did not. You didn't tell me until after.
What are you talking about? I told you the situation of the person.
You said, do you have the money? I said, yeah, sure. He said, okay, I'm going to go give it to this person because.
Right. And because of this. Right.
But it's not like you said, Rita, do you have $50 because I want to help someone? It was more like, Rita, you have $50? Sure.
And then I explained to you why I wanted the $50. And
but I literally watched you give the money and I said, what is happening? It's like, she was really low on rent. That's what happened. You didn't explain to me before you gave it.
No. Well, here we go with the understanding of not knowing what it is. But at the end of the day, me and Rita were different and we learned that we were different. I'm not going to try and make your situation look a certain way and mine.
No, because there are arguments where I am very wrong. I get that. And there are arguments.
Maybe we'll get there today. Maybe. But anyhow, we had differences of opinion. We had a different way of how we did things. And so case in point, Rita liked to go to the movies. And so every time that we would go out for a date, it's either going out to eat or going to the movies. And I was like, I would love to just kind of do something different. I'd love to play a sport, or why don't we go out and kind of do some charity work and help people and different things like that. And she's like, what?
What?
No, what do you mean help people? I'm like, that's not entertainment. That is not recreation. And I'm like, yes, it is. I find a lot of pleasure in being there for others and helping others, and that is what I do for fun. And she's like, how could you do that for fun?
I thought he was I thought he was holier than thou. I like to go help people. And I was just like, come on. That's not what you...
But I've never changed. 25 years, I've never changed.
I get it. No, and I'm just going to say this, that being with you has made me way more generous in life.
Right.
Because you are very generous, but in the beginning, I didn't realize that this was just your nature. Like, for example, you used to, like you had alluded to, you would give a lot of people rides all over. He was like the taxi for his friends. And kind of when I came into the picture, I was like, well, are they giving you gas money? Like, what is happening?
Right.
Because he was going all over town and just taking people places. And I was like, what? That does not work for me here, being with you, and then you're going all over.
People were in need of money or whatever, and they would come to me. Strangers would come to me. They wouldn't even go to you, but they would come to me, and
that to this day, and that's a whole nother thing. But what I'm saying is that I learned though that this is not just. It wasn't just a phase. It wasn't him being used. As well, I wouldn't say this. I would say some people used him. I was being used. Some people used him.
Yeah.
But I wouldn't say that you were somehow weak or a doormat. You just literally like to help people.
Right.
So even if the other person's intentions were not good, you were still showing up for them. And that's how I learned that you were just a generous person. But what I interpreted that was I'm not
gonna let anybody just run over my man, because if you run over my man and you take advantage of my man, I end up losing out in it.
Right.
So
I think, like I said, he has a very generous spirit. Like I said, now don't be trying to write in, get money from him. Cause remember, I'm here with him. No, I'm just kidding.
Rita's still here.
But when we're out, it's so hilarious. Like literally, I don't care where we are. We could be in Hawaii. We could be in Europe. We could be in the Caribbean. We could be anywhere in the States. We could be in Canada. I do not care. We could be on a cruise. Somebody will go to Mirthell and ask him for something. I know we'll be walking together. They will bypass me and they will go straight to him. There is something about his spirit. We'll be in the most random places and someone will come.
Right.
We'll be at a gas station where everybody's just pumping gas. I could pump gas. No one's going to ask me a thing. Mirthell pumps gas. The person in the next car will be like, I want to let you know I'm really having hard times. And I'm just like it happens so much that I just look at it like, wow, this is
here's
a spirit.
The thing. We had to get to know one another. And in some cases, I was wrong. Like, for instance, AOL. Like, you know what I mean? Like, I had no right to do that without asking you first. And so we learned that through our marriage at a very early age that, whoa, we are different. Yeah. And we complement each other so that, you're there to kind of help protect our family so that we don't go overboard in our charity. But at the same time, I'm there to kind of challenge us to recognize that,
Because remember, there was this one other time, and then we'll move on. But there was this other time where someone asked to borrow our tools. So Mirthell was like, sure, here's our toolbox, our tool set. And then they had a daughter and they were like, oh, what about these nice DVDs? Remember? Right. No, sorry, that was something else. That was, remember that?
There's lots of stories.
Yeah, oh my goodness. But anyway, we never got the tools back.
I'm surprised that we didn't talk about Red.
Oh, man. We got to talk about Red.
So driving down the road.
This is still early on. This is really still early on in our relationship. We're not even married yet.
There is a homeless man. He's literally homeless. Yes. I'm talking like fully dirty, fully like alcohol on the breath. I don't even know him. I found out his name after I picked him up. Mm-hmm. So Rita's in the car and I pick up this homeless man and he's driving in the back. I don't think that we got the stench out of our car.
No, what you did was he in the back? No, I thought you put him in the front so that he wouldn't be behind
you or something like that.
Yeah, but he picked him up and I was really heated because I felt like that put us at risk.
Right.
And I get like you're generous. Now I was like, now you're gone too far. Right. Because there's other ways to help people without putting yourself at risk.
And see, that's what happened in the beginning of the relationship because I had been single for so long. I had been making all these decisions as a single person. And I needed to learn lessons that now I'm with somebody else. And there's a respectful way to be able to continue to be the type of person that I am. And so there was times where I had crossed the boundaries, trying to maintain how I was, not realizing that I'm now merging with somebody else.
Right, because he used to get upset that I wasn't like him. And he would interpret my difference as being selfish. And I would interpret him as being like, well, you're crazy or you're a doormat or something like that.
Right. Or situations where
I would say he was careless.
You were not or careless and there were situations where it was not a careless situation. It was just me helping.
But it was me interpreting it that.
Right. And like you were just not at that place yet. You were getting to know me. That was not necessarily something that was the way that you were, which is okay. Mm-hmm. And but there was no room. I felt in the beginning of a relationship that there was no room for me to be me. I felt like there were certain ways that you were and there's certain things that you like to do. And there was no room for me to be me. So that even if I was like, hey, let's go and do some safe charity or let's do something safe or let's do something that is kind or go out and do that, you would be like, nah, I just want to go to watch a movie. Nah, I just want to. Right. And so I felt like there was no space for me to continue to be myself the way that I had been.
Right.
So.
And it's so funny now because years later, I am way more of a generous person now. Like we literally, we do a lot. We do a lot of, charitable giving. And also, I'm way more open to new experiences. Like,
Right, that is true.
you know, I like to do lots of new things. Sometimes I want to do something and you want to sleep. Like, there's we are very different now.
Ooh, sleep.
Oh my goodness. Let's get into that one.
That is, we got to get into sleep.
Gotta get into that one.
Sleep.
But it
so
shows
very early in our relationship, we had this thing about sleep.
Yes, yeah. Well, okay. I was raised by my grandparents, and by the time I came into the home, my dad, my aunts, and my uncle were there. They're not in the home, so it was just me and my grandparents. Mm-hmm. So basically, and I have like half siblings, but I wasn't raised with them, so they're with their parents. So I was basically by myself. So I really did not go to bed early. They weren't like, right at 9:00, go to bed. It wasn't like that. It was just, I kind of just, you know, when your grandparents raise you, for at least my experience, after a certain age, they're just kind of more relaxed on things.
Right.
So, you know,
So when do you think that you would generally go to bed, just generally, as a teenager?
Oh my goodness. As a teenager, oh man, I don't know. It could have been 1, 2, 3, 4. It didn't matter.
Now this becomes critical to the whole thing.
I know.
Because she lived on the West Coast.
Yes.
So 1, 2, 3. Yes. I lived on the East Coast.
Right.
So 1, 2, 3 is actually 3, 4, 5.
No.
On the East Coast.
No, it's actually 4. Because one
is 4.
Yes.
Right. Exactly. So when we first got together,
I didn't even realize that was part of it.
Yes, this is critical to the sleep issue here, because Rita moved from the West Coast when we got married to the East Coast with me.
Yeah.
So in like the first year of our marriage, at least half the year, we were on the East Coast.
Yeah.
So this is where it intensified. Because Rita it's almost like when you go jet lag and you go to another country,
it's true. Yeah.
You're still operating on your timeline.
Yeah.
So Rita could not go to sleep at 11.
Right. No.
Rita could not go to sleep at 12.
What is that? No.
Rita could not
the
go to
night's
sleep
just
at 1.
getting started.
Because 1:00 Eastern time was when?
10.
10. You were just...
I tell you, the night was just getting started.
About sleeping.
No.
So we would have these arguments about sleep
because I wouldn't let him sleep.
Yeah.
See, now
she felt that as in a married couple, you need
stay
to
up
sleep
with
together.
me.
You stay together. You sleep.
What do you mean you're going to bed now? Come on, what are you, an old man? Come on.
So we had some very critical conversations.
No, because he would be really upset and he would be like, I'm tired.
I'm tired.
I gotta admit, it was really selfish of me, guys. It was really selfish. I did not want him to go to sleep. So many times we'd be up till like, 5, 6 o'clock in the morning. I'd see the sunrise and then I'd be like, all right, well, let's go to bed. And Mirthell would be like, I gotta go to work.
Yeah, because in the beginning of the relationship, Rita was pregnant. So
I was home.
We had Shalom very early. And then Sinead came 11 months later. So she was home with the kids. She didn't have anywhere to go. So she'd sleep during the day, right when Los Angeles was going to sleep. And then I have to go to work. And
my goodness.
I am exhausted. She'd be like, what do you even have to do at work anyhow?
Oh, that's a whole nother argument.
Oh, that's a whole nother argument. We'll get into that afterwards. But I was exhausted, y'all. I was exhausted.
Yeah, he was tired.
It took a long time for us to resolve that.
But the funniest part, though, guys, to this day, I get my best sleep when I'm in LA.
Yeah,
I do. I don't know. I feel like my body still is in
because we
tune.
live in 2 places now. So whenever we go back in LA, she's straight.
I'm straight.
But I feel like you have adjusted somewhat to Eastern time because I think that you still go to bed earlier.
Well, now I do. And that's the irony, guys. Like now, oh my goodness, I love sleep. Like if I get to bed by like even 11, I'm like rejoicing inside. I'm excited. Like, whoa, I get to sleep. Right. And I don't like staying up late anymore. I don't know. I just don't like it.
Right.
I find it to be, again, another waste of energy because what am I really doing around that time? Right. I'm not really doing that much that I wouldn't do better if I just did it earlier on in the day the next day.
I think your body's just getting accustomed to East Coast because it's been 25 years that you're doing both. You're kind of like, you're not just in isolation in the West Coast time. Like you're kind of doing both. So,
or I'm Getting older, people. I'm getting older. So, one of the, like you had alluded to when I used to say, what are you even doing at work? So another big argument that we used to have, we're going to need a part 2, 3, 4, and 5.
I know.
Okay. Another argument we used to have was, okay, so for a while I was a nurse. I worked my way up from, I was an aide, yep. I was an LPN, I was an RN, and then I was an NP, nurse practitioner. So I've been there, I've done it all. I've worked in everything you could think of. I've been a professor. I've been in the community. I've done psych. I've done old people homes. I've done children's hospital. I've done regular hospital. I've done ER. I've done anything you could think of. I've done it. And I was exhausted the whole time, just tired because it takes a lot. Even as an NP,
and you're on your feet
or you're charting.
Right, yeah.
My goodness. So Mirthell, though, he was a pastor.
I was a pastor. So you heard the labor-intensive work that she had to do when she goes to work. You know what it reminds me of? It reminds me of the SpongeBob and Patrick episode.
Oh, yeah.
Where, like, Patrick goes off to work.
No, it can't remind you of that because all Patrick did.
No, I know, but the funniness of it, the comedy of it was that Patrick goes off to work and SpongeBob is at home with the snail.
Yeah, you're Patrick then.
Yeah, I'm Patrick.
Oh, okay,
and then
got you.
I'd go off to work.
Yeah.
And the humor of it was that when they all found out, Patrick was like, I don't know, like he was like watching TV. Like that's what his job was, to watch TV and eat snacks.
Right.
And then he'd come back home and I'm like, I'm exhausted, Patrick.
Right. So all that time that Mirthell's not getting his sleep, Rita, I gotta go to work. And so sometimes he'd be like, what are you doing at work anyway? Because you're a pastor. He didn't even have to go in every day. The days that he really had to go in was like maybe like a Wednesday night for prayer meeting. Or
I still had to go in. I still had to visit members and stuff like that.
Here we go.
I mean, I had to visit members.
But the members were at work, okay? The members were at work during the day. So you could go, most of them, not the old ones maybe, but, if they're older, you could maybe go like during the day. But then like what I'm saying is that, during the day, it's kind of like free. It was free because you could choose when you go in. So nobody was dictating his hours.
So Rita's perspective was, when I go to work, I'm working hard. I'm punching in. I am on my feet the whole time. But when I go to work, I could be going to a home, sitting with a family, and we're kind of like talking about some of the issues that they may be going through or whatever the case may be. But I'm not on my feet. You know what I'm saying? I may go to a meeting, and in this meeting, we're talking about work in the church, and we're doing, stuff like that. But at the end of the day, when Rita would compare the things that I would be doing when I would go to work and comparing it with the things that she had to do and going to work. So she's like, come on. Like, let's get real here.
And then part of it, though, was just a frustration because I didn't want to be in that field anymore.
Right.
But I felt trapped by circumstances, like by, we're having kid after kid after kid. And it's like, you can't just be like, yeah, no, I don't want to be a nurse anymore when you're already so deep into it. Yeah. I got my bachelor's, I got my master's, like, you just can't be like, well, you can, because we did eventually. Right. But at the time, we didn't know how to transition. So I felt trapped. So if I felt my little joys were, watching a movie late or whatever, I'm going to do it. And because,
or us just sitting and talking in bed.
Right.
I mean,
exactly.
It's not like we didn't like to do it. We have been talking.
Yeah.
From the very beginning. We get it in, y'all. We get it in, like pillow talk and just, I mean, no matter where we are. There was a time where I was, working on campus. I was like a security officer.
Oh yeah. When we were at another university.
That's when the
staying
hours
up late
for us, because I had the night shift where I had to stay up, and Rita would be on the phone with me the whole time. So like we had a good time. It's just very challenging.
Yeah, it was.
It was just very challenging. See, these are the kind of arguments. It's like this process of oneness as you're coming together with somebody else, where they're coming from different time zones or different cultures or different, just a different perspective in life, whether it is how you spend money versus, whether you are a saver or you are a go-getter who makes more money. Like, when you get with somebody, you start to learn that there are different ways to live your life.
Yeah.
And there's different ways that people think, and there's different things. And so that oneness that was happening in our marriage where we're coming together was very difficult, and it was very painful.
Yeah, it was.
Because we were getting to know each other. Because remember, we had met each other the
January.
The January, and we were married by the December.
Yep.
So we didn't really have a full amount of time to really get to know one another.
No.
So those were some interesting. I mean, we've had arguments. I remember, well, you actually just reminded me before we were going to go on this podcast that you ran over my glasses.
I can't remember what it was.
I can't remember what the argument was about.
I can't remember, but I was so upset with him and his sunglasses. We were in the front yard, and I remember I probably was on my way to work or something. We were arguing, and his sunglasses had fallen on the driveway, and I decided, ooh, what a wonderful opportunity for me to just run over it. Yes. and this one, now the kids, they were actually watching the whole debacle, like what? Mommy just ran over the glasses, you know? And then I felt bad. I felt so bad because I was like, you know, I don't want to, what am I doing damaging his stuff, you know? I ended up buying you another one.
You did.
You remember me buying another one?
You see, this is one of those arguments that I don't really fully remember. Like the kids even remember. I don't even really fully remember.
I know, because I said to the kids, I'm like, you guys, Daddy doesn't remember when I ran over his sunglasses. And they were like, you don't remember that? Right. That must have been right. Very big for them. But that same car was used in another argument.
Yes.
Where
I backed in the tree.
Right. So we had a tree in our front yard at this house.
Right. And I don't
remember the argument.
I still don't remember the argument, but I remember I just wanted, and this is going to bring up another topic about whether you stay and argue or whether you leave.
Right.
But I was just so done. I was like, I'm trying to end this argument. I'm trying to solve this argument.
Yes.
That's from my perspective. I will admit it's from my perspective. Rita's thinking, oh, you just don't want to own up to whatever the issue is.
Right.
And now you want to leave.
Exactly.
So I was like, I'm so done. I can't argue anymore. I jump in the car and I speed off. Like I'm going to speed off. But I do like one of those Biggie Smalls, like, dun, 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 dun. You know the one where the song where it's like they're backing up the whole time? Oh. So I thought like I'm going to be Biggie Smalls. I'm going to back up, but I'm going to race out of there. And I'm going to show her. And all of a sudden, I heard a bang.
Right. The whole back window shattered.
The whole back window shattered. And I backed up into
And you know what's funny? You came in the house. This is what I do remember. You came in the house like, look what you made me do. I was so angry. If you hadn't been arguing with me, I wouldn't have backed into the tree.
Once again, I don't remember. But
it's not like there wasn't truth in that. You know.
What do you mean?
Just because you did back out, it was because we were arguing. I didn't make you go back, but there was truth to the fact that if you are fostering an environment of chaos and negativity, things happen.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I just remember that, and I was just like, wow. And which brings us to like arguing in front of the kids, because a lot of these arguments that we had, some of them were just frivolous. Mm-hmm. But we were invested.
We were so intense. It was like...
And so our children, unfortunately, witnessed a lot of our intense arguments.
And that has been one of the biggest regrets of my life.
I think for both of us.
I think it was really...
Them being exposed to these arguments.
It really showed an immaturity.
Unnecessary.
It really showed an immaturity. I think, you know, like, I'm just going to speak for myself. A real immaturity on my end. And... You know, I have such huge regrets for that, because I feel like it leads to a stressful environment. Obviously, I don't have to feel like that. It just is. Right. It leads to a stressful environment. It leads to them feeling like, what's going to happen with my parents? Like, you know full well you're not going to go anywhere or whatever. Right. But if you're hearing and feeling all of this tension, of course you're going to be scared as a youngster. Like, what is going to happen?
It's that kind of environment actually is really bad for youngsters. Really, to tell you at any age, you know, I don't think anyone needs to be exposed. I think you have to demonstrate, what we've learned is you have to demonstrate maturity so that you are talking about the issues, but you're not arguing about it. And that you should, and if you feel super emotional about it, don't go somewhere to argue, but some conversations kids just don't have to be privy to. And I think what ends up happening is when you're so emotional, everything starts spilling out. And so it definitely was a regret that we did not gain a hold of that sooner. I'm grateful that we have gained a hold of it. But one of the takeaways, I think that Shiloh said this the other day. He was like, but what it did is it taught me. And I'm glad to hear him say that.
I've actually heard all of them say that. Yeah. What you're about to say. I've heard that.
He said what it did is it taught me that you can have a contentious relationship where there's challenges and there's turmoil, but that does not mean that your marriage is over. And one of the things that me and Rita did, and I don't excuse arguing in front of them, but what I will say is that if you do end up arguing in front of your children, it is extremely important that they see how you make up. So they see how you are resolving it when you do come around and start talking mature, because they heard everything already.
Right.
They already heard the whole issue.
Don't hide the
don't hide
talking it out.
The talking it out and the resolution.
It's not like we sat them down, like sit down and listen to us talk it out. But if we were in the living room, we would talk it out.
And they would see us. They would see us hug. They would see us kiss.
And they would feel the change in energy.
They'd feel the same change in energy, so that they know that we helped them receive that, I don't know, that good feeling. Like if they had tension, they got the resolution, and they fully understood. I think our children understood how to resolve an issue. They probably learned both how to resolve it in a bad way, but also how to resolve it in a good way.
So saying like they learned that not only is the marriage not over, but they also learned that they actually learned through all of our trial and error better ways to work things out, right. Things to avoid, and then ways like now we work things out way differently and better.
Oh yeah.
So now, but this is the thing about, and I'm not excusing it again, but is part of when you get married young and then you have kids young, they kind of grow up with you. And so there are things that, man, I know right at my age now that I wish I had known back then and had the maturity to know. So that definitely is a regret. But
now one of the things I remember, I always felt like you were attacking me in a lot of our arguments. I felt like you were attacking me, and it's not. And I'm not saying that like a lot of the issues that you were facing is because you want to address things that I was doing that would make you feel a certain way. So I can admit that now, thank God. But at the time, I felt that everything that you were saying was an attack on me.
Right.
And so what I would do is I'd be defensive.
Right.
And so that's where it starts, where it's like you're trying to express to me what I was doing that would make you feel this way. And then I would interrupt you and then try to speak over you to defend myself, to be like, that's not what I'm doing, or that's not what happened, or whatever the case may be. And then it became the cycle of you desperately needing me to understand because you didn't want to feel that way anymore.
Right.
Desperately feel that you need it. And then I'm like, I'm not a bad person. Like, I love you. Like,
right.
Like, this is not what my intent was. This is not what my intent. I don't know why you heard that, but I didn't say that because this is what I was saying. And then it would just, of course, you see the cycle and it goes on and on and on. Yeah. So, but one of the things that I learned, and, I really needed to be more disciplined in the way that I spoke, especially when I was a marriage and family therapist, is that active listening. Active listening is such a wonderful tool.
Well, it's all fine and dandy, though, when you're using it or you're telling another couple to do it. It's very hard within your marriage. Because there will be times where I would be like, you're a marriage and family therapist. Why don't you use, active listening here?
Right, or use the tools. And basically what active listening is not getting caught up in the self-defense, but creating an atmosphere for the person who is feeling hurt or feeling the emotional tug, giving them the space to feel and heard and understood. Right. And active listening basically is not saying, you're right, I am a horrible person. It's not saying, you're right, I did do that or I did say that. Active listening is basically creating an atmosphere by reflecting what the person is saying, not reflecting like obnoxiously. But, if a person says like, you came home but you didn't call me all day, when you were out at work and just to check in or whatever the case may be. This is not accurate. And that makes me feel like you don't really love me, and that makes me feel like you don't care. And then to active listen is not to say, you're right, I absolutely have to call. That's not what it is. It's basically, don't get defensive, just say, so what I hear you saying, Rita, is that when I go away to work and you don't hear from me the entire day, not even a text, not even at this, what I hear from you is it makes you feel like I'm not even thinking about you. So you're just reflecting back what the person said, and when you do it right, and if you're not doing it obnoxiously and you do it right, it's not defensive. So you're not like interrupting,
right.
And then it allows the person to say, well, you know what? Gosh, he's actually listening. Like, he actually heard me.
One of my biggest pet peeves is an apology that starts with if. I'd rather you not apologize. Not to say you have to agree with everything I said.
Right.
But I would rather not hear if I hurt you or if I did something. I would rather hear, I'm sorry for hurting you.
Absolutely.
You know what I'm saying?
Apologies is like huge. I'm glad you brought that up. Apologizing is another way that you will be able to, and you have to apologize right.
Yes.
You can't do the if. But active listening helps with that, because what active listening does is it gives you the time and space to reflect on what the person's actually saying and understand them.
Right.
So that when you do acknowledge something, you're actually admitting it. But if you come right off and you feel the pressure to acknowledge something when you don't even understand it in the beginning, then you actually feel like you didn't do anything wrong, and now you're just apologizing. So you're like, well, I need to give them something. So let me give them an if, and the if is not good enough.
No.
So it's better so that one of the things I appreciate about what we've learned about arguing is that sometimes you need time. Sometimes you do need a little bit of time to go by and to process. I used to be annoyed at you because I felt at certain times in our relationship, you would not apologize early. You would hold back the apology. So you would actually take your time to process and then apologize when you were ready.
It's true.
And I felt
I held on to it.
I felt like I was at the gun to you're just like, I got to apologize right now.
Right.
And I didn't even understand what was actually happening.
Right. Yeah. It's like, I wanted to hear your apology. Then I was like, all right, well, now that I got it, let me just simmer for a while. And
then you gave the apology when you were ready.
When I was good and ready, yeah. So yeah, I could definitely see that. And it's funny because one of the things you used to do is you used to want to always like leave.
Yes.
Or
not talk about it.
Or like go to sleep, or something like that, right? So I used to like use the Bible on him. It says you're not supposed to let the sun go down on your anger and don't go to sleep angry.
Right.
But Mirthell used to say to me, though, he's like, yeah, but that doesn't mean you just carry on the argument.
Right.
It means you literally, like, if we're going to work it out, then we work it out. It doesn't mean you just keep going and going and going.
I knew that you had enough gas in your tank because you were on West Coast time. I knew that the argument was going to go right
full
up
circle.
Until 6. Go right up until 6. I'm like, I got to get some sleep here. I don't want to break the, what the Bible is trying to advise, but I ain't got no more gas in the tank.
But the thing is though, like nowadays though, first of all, thank God we don't get into.
Oh no,
we just don't.
No.
But let's just say we still have a disagreement or something. But and let me actually go before and now. Let's just say leading up to now, when we were starting to kind of wind down the big arguments, I started to actually let go of this thought that he can't leave. I let go of that because I recognize that, wow, when he does leave and then comes back, he's actually feels better. He feels better. You're a different person. Like you got that space, you got that fresh air. Sometimes you go and get like some jerk chicken or Jamaican patty or something like that, or juice, whatever. Like you did something and you just felt better and you were better able to either, talk to me. A lot of times that would be the time where you would give me a call or you'd come back and you'd come straight in the room like,
or
hun,
we would text.
I'm sorry. Or we would text.
I like that. That's another thing. Texting. What texting did was it allowed us to have the conversation without interrupting each other. Then we could actually read what the person said or you could get out your thought.
Yeah.
And another thing that texting did, full circle again.
What?
Is it
record
records what the person said or didn't say.
Yeah.
So everything is
because in the text you're really not going to say the same things that you say in an argument anyway. You're just but even if you do, it's kind of like it just doesn't have that same.
It doesn't that oomph.
Yeah.
Right.
But yeah, like just with like when Mirthell would go and then come back, I realized like it's not such a bad thing. Or if we took some time. And he went somewhere else in the kitchen or something like that, and I was in the room or whatever, that actually helped me too. So I learned to actually appreciate space. I really learned that we didn't have to like battle it out. Nobody's going anywhere. Nobody's going to sleep. I learned like, wow, I don't really have to do it that way. And that's something that, we just were able to, I think, get to the point where we are right now. When you start to embrace other ways of handling things, even if it wasn't something that I necessarily thought I wanted to do, I realized like, oh, there was benefit in this. So yeah, I've definitely learned that was something I appreciate.
So these were, for better or for worse, these were just some of the arguments that we had. You
want to know the irony, guys? We actually have a list here of actual arguments that we were going to get into.
We didn't even
do it. We didn't even get to it.
We literally could have had the 25 best top arguments.
Right. But I like
Christmas Day argument.
Oh my goodness. That one. The Niagara Falls.
Graduation Day argument.
Our rings in the Niagara Gorge.
Our first set of rings.
They're in Niagara Falls.
Our wedding is in Niagara Falls, but we can't get into it. Yeah. I think we've talked about it in other podcasts before. Yeah. That's one of the top arguments.
That's
which
easy.
I mean, if we got into it, when you watch other podcasts, you would realize, this is so silly.
It was beyond ridiculous.
Right.
It was beyond ridiculous. Yeah. And I always think about, like, let's say if the world still lasts another 10,000 years, some archaeologists going into the Niagara Falls River and then just like seeing these two rings and go, I wonder what and this was.
Cleaning it off and seeing
yes.
Rita and Mirthell.
Wonder what this couple, wonder what they were like. They must have declared their love here.
Right, or something. But
not like, you know what? Go ahead and throw it out.
Right, exactly. But you know what I like to think? I like to think that our wedding bands are in the Niagara Falls River together forever. And it just goes to show you that when you are in a marriage and you feel like you've hit rock bottom, what it reminds me is that our rings are at rock bottom. They're at the bottom of the river.
It's true.
Together. And we are also together. And it just shows that you can overcome anything. You can overcome the worst of situations. And I'm just so glad that me and you have been able to overcome, learn life lessons, mature, and just because you have a better or for worse situation, it doesn't mean that you can't overcome it and that you cannot still honor your vows.
Yes, take it from us, guys. It gets better.
It gets better.
It gets better.
Love actually is. I feel like love actually is discovered. See, what we had in the beginning, I feel it was. Part of love, it was infatuation, it was attraction, you know what I mean? It was endearment.
It was the beginning stages of love.
It was the beginning stages of love. But true love, I think, is like an aging wine. I don't drink, but it's like an aging wine in a sense. You get to know that person, who they really are. And now, at 25 years, we're planning to do a renewal of our vows. And this time when I say I do, and this time when I go through the vows, I think it's even more meaningful because I know who I am committing to.
That's right.
I am committing to this woman and she's committing to me, and we know everything about each other. But true. Yet we're still saying I do. Right. And that is love. Love is not just thinking the best of somebody and not really knowing them, but hoping that there'll be some way, but knowing exactly who they are and saying, I would rather be with no one else than this woman. And that's how I feel.
That's right. Well, nothing to say after that.
All right, guys. Thank you so much for joining us and just joining us in our 25-year celebration.
That's right.
And the next time that we see you will be, for better or for worse, sickness and in health.
Oh boy, that's a doozy.
Sickness and in health.
That is a doozy.
So that will be the next one. How do we get through the roughest times, even if the person is ill? All right, take care. Bye.
Bye.